Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. We got a fun one prepared today. What we'll be doing is we'll be completely breaking down our round 2 college football playoff matchup we have between the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Georgia Bulldogs. This is a massive game here. This is independent Notre Dame versus SEC champ Georgia, both fighting it out to try to get to round 3 of the playoffs. This is going to be the All-State Sugar Bowl. We're going to be predicting the outcome, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what the final score will be. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments on this game or any of the other games, please drop them below and I will respond. Every week we're going over every single college football game, every bowl game, every single playoff game, all the way to the national championship, breaking down the best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. We also do the same thing for every NFL game every single week. The NFL season only has 1 week left. Week 18 is coming up. A lot of good games in the NFL, a lot of good games in college football. There's a lot of football stuff going on. If you're a football fan, if you're a sports fan, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you can follow along with us. This is the quarterfinals, so the All-State Sugar Bowl, ESPN, New Year's Day, 8:45 p.m. Number 7, Notre Dame, 12-1. That only loss was to NIU at the beginning of the season. A really bad loss, but since then they've been curb stomping people. The largest margin of victory average in all of college football for them. Yes, not a tough schedule, but hey, you can only beat who's on your schedule. They've been beating them. They'll be playing number 2, Georgia Bulldogs, 11-2. They are the SEC champs. Notre Dame, though, surprising. This might surprise a lot of people. 53.8% chance to win this game. The fans are picking Notre Dame, but Vegas is picking Georgia. Georgia right now, a 1.5 point favorite. The over here is 44.5. This game's going to be close. To me, this game, everyone knows what's going to happen in this game. This is going to be a line of scrimmage, trench warfare game. It's going to be a slugfest at the line. Who's going to dominate in the trenches is going to win this game. It's going to come down to offensive and defensive lines, depth. And whenever you say depth and trenches, we're all talking about running the ball. Who's going to dominate the run game? Who's going to control the time of possession? Right now, Notre Dame, obviously, their coaching staff, Marcus Freeman, Golden, Denbrock, very good coaching staff. A lot of pressure is going to be on Golden. That defense has to carry Notre Dame. They are a defensively led team. The defense is what carries this team. The defense is going to have to shut down Georgia's offense. They're going to have to dominate this game. If they do typical Notre Dame defense fashion throughout this season, they can win this game. This is not the Notre Dame team of old. Everyone's thinking Notre Dame has no chance to beat Georgia because they're still trapped in the Brian Kelly Notre Dame years. That's not going to help or hurt anyone this season. The past doesn't dictate what's going to happen in the future. This is a new team, new squad, new coaching staff, and let's call it what it is. This is not the Georgia Bulldogs team that we've seen for the last 4 to 5 seasons. They're not as good as they've been previous seasons. Very good team, very talented team, number 2 team overall roster talent-wise, according to ESPN, but they're not dominating in the typical Georgia Bulldogs fashion. They have a good defense. They don't have a great defense this season. They actually have an above-average defense statistically, and their offense is not as good as it's previously been. Notre Dame, they can run the ball. Very one-dimensional, though. That's what's going to hurt them. Can Georgia control Notre Dame's rushing game because they're so run-heavy reliant? Stack that line, shut it down, force Riley Leonard, the quarterback, into 3rd and long situations, force him to beat you with his arm. That's how Georgia can win the game. Notre Dame wins it by running the ball, defense. Georgia wins it by taking Notre Dame out of their comfort zone, force them to play the type of football you want them to play, dictate the pace of this game. Looking at Notre Dame's quarterback, Riley Leonard, he's a transfer from Duke. He's closing in on 2,300 yards, 17 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And out of that, he also has 15 rushing touchdowns, which he just set the Notre Dame record in the last playoff game. This is a mobile quarterback. Yes, he can throw the ball. He's not a passing quarterback at all. I've been very critical of Riley Leonard's passing game since back when he was at Duke. Not an accurate passer by any means, in any way whatsoever. He's not going to beat you with his arm. Can he make enough plays with his arm in order to get a couple first downs when he needs to throw for first down? They're going to stack that line. There's going to be some times you're going to have to surprise Georgia's defense by throwing the ball when they're expecting you to run. But thankfully for him, he has an incredibly good run game to help him out. The run game, if it's successful, should be able to open up some play action to where he should be able to pass the ball strategically when they need him to. Looking at their offense, they're averaging 38.8 points per game. That is a top 15 offense in the nation. nation. They're throwing for 203.5. They're running for 222.4, a top 15 rushing team in the nation. This is Notre Dame's strength. On the ground and pound, running the ball. You have to compete with them at the line of scrimmage. Not one, not two, not three. 4 quarters of running downhill. It's going to test Georgia's depth. And obviously, they're only giving up 13.8 points a game, which is a top 5 defense in the nation. We're not talking top 20. We're not talking top 10. We're talking a top 5 defense in the nation. That is what is going to carry this team. That is their strength. Looking at the Georgia Bulldogs, the big news for Kirby Smart and company, Carson Beck, he's not going to play this game. He got hurt. He's out for the season. He's already declared for the NFL draft. He'll probably be there standing in street clothes on the sidelines, but they're going to be going with Gunnar Stockton. Gunnar Stockton's been on this team for a couple years now. He's not a freshman. He's not new to the team. He's had some time to look at the playbook, but the one thing that's going to help them out, there's not much tape at all on the collegiate level of Gunnar Stockton, except for that second half versus the Texas Longhorns. Outside of that, you only have high school tape. So Georgia might be able to surprise Notre Dame with their playbook. Gunnar Stockton, highly recruited guy, 5-star guy, but let's call it what it is. Carson Beck is going to be a better passer than Gunnar Stockton. However, Gunnar Stockton is going to be a better runner than Carson Beck was. Not that he was a bad runner, but Gunnar Stockton is a more mobile quarterback with a decent arm. Carson Beck had a good arm and just an average rushing game. Where Georgia needs to do better is running the ball, not throwing the ball. Way too pass-heavy reliant this season. They need someone who can be mobile, who can stretch the field, who can get out of pressure, who can roll that pocket out and potentially scramble for a first down. Keep plays alive with your legs because their rushing game has been struggling all season. That's their weakness, is running the ball. It used to be their strength. That is not their strength this season, but maybe Gunnar Stockton can help change that and test and keep that Notre Dame defense on edge. Right now, Georgia, they're averaging 33.2 points per game. Right now, that's like a top 35, top 40 offense in all of college football. That's why I was saying this isn't the Georgia offense of old. They've had struggles punching it in consistently. They're throwing for 297.3, running for 129.1. That's where the weakness is. They're not running the ball like they used to run. They used to be about, I'd say, about 180 to 190 per game rushing the ball. That struggled, very pass reliant this season. There's nothing wrong with that, but it takes you out of being able to control the pace of the game. Georgia doesn't want to get into 40 to 35 shootouts. They want to keep that score down. They want to dominate the time of possession, and their defense is giving up 20.4 points a game, which is probably their worst offensive stat per game, I'd say probably in 15 to 20 years. It's not bad for your normal team, but for a Georgia team, that is atrocious. They are usually sub 15. That's where Notre Dame finds itself. That's not where Georgia finds itself this season. Looking at the playmakers, obviously for Notre Dame, they have Riley Leonard. They have Jeremiah Love closing in on 1,100 yards. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him this game. The pressure is going to be on Love. It's obviously going to be on Leonard. But Love is going to have to set that pace. He's going to have to ground and pound. He's going to have to find those holes. He's going to be carrying this team. If they can run the ball, Notre Dame wins this game. If they can run the ball as they typically do, they win. But obviously that's a easier thing to be said than actually done versus the Georgia Bulldogs defense, which they might not be as good as they've been previous seasons, but we know they are as talented as anyone. They just have to show up and play Georgia football, and they can dominate this game, shut down the run game. Notre Dame's weakness is that wide receiver core. Yes, this is probably their most talented wide receiver core in some time. It's going to be led by Collins, but it's not elite. Looking at the other side for Georgia, obviously Gunnar Stockton, Frazier, Etienne. They've been shuffling running backs. They've had running backs hurt throughout the whole season, struggling on the ground, and they have Arian Smith leading at the wide receiver position. For their wide receiver core, it's also not the best wide receiver core this season. That's why this team is ultimately going to come down to defense. Georgia might be giving up 20.4 points per game on defense, but we know they are way more talented than that. They just have to have a good game. They are more than capable of that. Kirby Smart knows how to coach them up for the big game, and we know Notre Dame, they're going to want their defense to lead and dictate the pace of this game. So what's the outcome we have for this Notre Dame-Georgia game, this massive game, and the independent Notre Dame versus the SEC champ? I'm going to go out on that. I have Notre Dame winning this one. I think it's going to be close. I think it's a 50-50 pick'em. Could go either way. If Georgia wins it close, like a 24-21, 24-23, would not surprise me in any way whatsoever. I don't personally want to bet on this game at all. It's going to be way too close. It's way too much of a pick'em. But I have Notre Dame pulling it out. 23-21. 20. I'm going to go with the plus 1.5, and we're just slightly going with the under. We have Notre Dame moving on to the next round of the playoffs. It's the defense that makes the difference at the line of scrimmage and their defensive depth. That's our breakdown for the Notre Dame-Georgia game. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.